that are tuning in right now, we are live. I'm here with my dear friend, Tony Rathman. Went on an investigation at the time with his team to the Kreischer Mansion that's located in Staten Island. And there's a photo, I think it was, I don't know if this was in the summer or it had to be kind of because there's green. It had to be in the summer, right, Tony, when we went there?
Yeah, if I remember right, it was about April or May, I think.
Yeah, right? Because everything is green.
Right.
So it had to be warm. Oh, that's right. It was before Halloween because they were talking about in a few months they were going to get ready for Halloween and what they do there. I don't know if they still do. I don't because when we
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. Now that I think about it, it might have been July or August. I can't
yes,
remember.
yep, because at the time too, they said the place might be for sale. I don't know what's happened with the Kreischer. Have you heard anything about this place?
No, I know it's still running. I know that they're still doing investigations there. I mean, that was
Oh,
an awesome
really?
place. Just the architecture of it, the things that go on there from a paranormal perspective.
Yep.
Just a very cool location. But as far as I know, it's up and running and you can still investigate there.
Wow. Because some of the history was that the mob, the actual mob, the five families used to gather in that place.
Absolutely. That was absolutely correct.
And we heard the stories associated with that because I'm not going to show the video because right now, tonight, I really want to concentrate on Staticom 3.0.
Cool.
But this is just to give people a little background.
Sure.
But that shed or shack, whatever it was, by the school bus in the back, I'm going to tell you, when we all walked through there, it was in like after midnight, it was.
Right.
The temperature definitely changed on a warm night. You can feel it. We all felt it as we were walking near it, like
You know,
something.
that was the craziest thing. Out of all the sensations and what you felt when you were in the house, you didn't think it could be any stronger anywhere else, but that property, walking through that woods, following those trails, there was some crazy stuff going on in the yard, no doubt about it.
Yep. And I mean, even because the steps when you go, because we're gonna talk about that. I'm still setting up the pop outs for everybody that's watching right now. I'm getting everything so I could see your comment. If you have a question, comment for Tony, please post it and I'll ask him. Anything that comes in, please keep it respectful, as always. And yes, you can agree to disagree and reach your own conclusions. But I'll tell you something right now. I've been with them. I was there in person. I seen it for myself as far as the investigation part of this is. And I did not cheat, Tony. I saw 1 8-second clip. That was it. Because I wanted this to be spontaneous. I wanted to be a surprised.
Awesome.
You know, I didn't want to cheat like that. I want to see it for the first time while you're here.
Very cool. Appreciate that.
All right, I've got Twitch, Trovo, YouTube. We need Rumble. Oh my gosh, that's my mom. Unbelievable. Momzilla's gonna strike. It never. I want to tell you, dude. It never ever fails with my mom. She always does that.
She's keeping a close eye on you, Bill, making sure you're okay.
Oh
Nothing wrong
my
with that.
gosh. Anyway, let me just get this sorted before we move forward because I want to definitely play a few other things too.
You got it.
Let me see. We need one more. We need Kick. Mom, right now I'm doing something very important with a friend. Okay. Yes, and you know what? You're part of this story too because you called when we were at that mansion investigation in Staten Island, and he was like, "When are you coming home?" And then I put you on the phone with your wife, Tony, Cherie.
Right. Cherie, I remember.
You
I remember
remember?
Cherie talking to your mom, going, "He's okay. He's
Yes.
with us. We'll make sure he's all right."
Yes, and she actually calmed her down. I was like, "Thank you, Cherie. Thank you so much for doing that." So you're actually part of that, Ma. But yes, Ma. Let me go because I'm interviewing Tony on something very important. She might be gone already. All right, Mom. Just please, I'm talking to him and we're live. Okay. Anyway, so there's the image We're all set up. But I'm going to play a couple of video clips here. And you can see that on the screen, right? Do you remember this in the basement?
Yeah. Yep.
All right. You were doing your thing down there with all the equipment, doing all the monitoring and the research. But then, and I'm going to see if I can find, there, here it is. I am filming you guys. You guys are doing your thing. And then, Mom, please. And then this happens. And I'm like, oh my God. And everybody looks at the same time. You and April.
Tell us what happened to you.
And I turn my head and watch, folks. Watch the sound. Listen for the sound and watch the heads turn.
How did you die? Do you
Right
know who killed you?
You see that? You see how she opened up her eyes and you looked?
Right. I mean, that was very prominent. You couldn't miss it. And we all looked in the direction that it came from. And because everyone that was down there was all visible to each other.
Exactly.
And this sound came from a portion of the basement that no one was in.
Nope. And then you said at the end of this clip, I heard something over there. Let's go check that out. And I said it was right behind me. It was like in the corner behind me. So
Right.
then we go, and I'm going to bring up the other video clip now. We go to that room. Let me get this Kreischer folder up. So we wander over that way. And I actually have a timestamp. This was done shortly after midnight.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually, this clip starts at 12 a.m. exactly.
Yeah. And that noise was just minutes before we went into that room.
Yes. The other clip started, the one that I showed previously, started at 11:47. So shortly before midnight is when we heard the sound, and this clip starts at midnight. So the reason I want to show this to everybody is the importance of when you do an investigation. The process is, if something is picked up, that you go through all the possibilities, the rational explanations, to see if it's just something that can simply be explained away.
Right.
And that's what Cherie was doing. Everyone was doing, the whole team. And I was standing behind all of you, so I'm like, wow. Because you had that device in your hand. What is the name of that device that you were using?
It was a FLIR thermal camera.
Okay. Now, before I do this, this basement has a lot of props in it they use for the Halloween things, the events they have for this location, the Kreischer Mansion. And there's a bathroom, but all it has is a toilet seat in it. That's it. It's small. There's nothing else in this bathroom.
Right.
So now I'm going to play this clip. I'm going to fast forward just a little because that's what I do. I'm going to go to where you approach this. So I'm going to be quiet now and play this clip so everybody can hear it.
Tape this because I can't record.
I'm recording.
No, the screen has.
The screen.
Who the fuck is that?
There's something there.
There's a little boy. Who the hell is that?
Where? I don't.
Right in the middle,
Oh,
honey.
oh,
right in the middle.
Let me shine it. Oh, it's not there.
Okay, take the camera away. I can't see my screen. Right there.
In the middle of the box, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right there.
There's nobody in there.
There's nobody there.
There's nothing in there. It's just the
Oh, sorry.
wall.
It's the wall?
It's
No, it's not. It's got legs.
maybe it's your reflection.
Look at is someone
It's gone.
in
Where did
there?
that from?
I took a picture. I was filming it.
Back up and see if you see it again.
Look,
In there?
Yes, look. Look.
Oh, there it is.
No, no,
There it is.
April got
Oh,
it.
then
April
maybe-
got it, baby.
Nice catch. That is a figure. That is a human.
Oh my God,
Every
that's so
hair on my
creepy.
arm is standing up.
You sure it's not?
Let me see.
Bill, look.
Hold on, back away.
I can't, it's too glary.
Sure.
Let me lower it. Hold on.
Hold on, don't step in. Back away for 1 second.
Now I could get it.
Take in just 3.
Wow.
Oh,
So stay
sorry.
where you're
That
at,
is
kinda get
creepy.
consistency with your arm in there.
That is creepy.
That
Well,
is
one of you
creepy.
guys
I'm gonna send
move
this to you
back and
guys.
forth.
Look, there's nothing there now.
Do you see it now?
It's not
careful.
there. And there wasn't. The lighting was ruled out.
Right. Yeah, it caught me so off guard because I wasn't expecting it. I wasn't expecting to see something that had legs, a body, and two arms show up when I could see in the bathroom enough to know that no one was in there. And then when we hit it with the lights, you could clearly see there was nothing in there. But this thing was just, it looked like almost a cross between about a 7 or 8 year old boy in overalls. But then on a couple of the photos, the head kind of looks extraterrestrial.
Yes! I was hoping you were going to say that because it does.
It absolutely does.
And there are people that say that they look like they're wearing some type of an outfit, like a work outfit.
Right.
I mean,
Right. This was 100% unexplainable.
Yep.
I still don't know the answer to it today. There weren't enough reflective surfaces in the bathroom to be mine. I wasn't wearing overalls. There were no mirrors. There were no, and even if there were, I can't tell what's in the background. Like it's standing in between two things. I can't tell, and I don't remember what those were. But they're not mirrors. And even if they were, the reflection would be coming off the mirror, and this thing standing in between them. So, still to this day, no idea what that was, but it blew our minds. And like you said, we ran through every possible way to figure out what it was, see if there was a rational explanation for it, try to debunk it and say, okay, it's your thermal shadow reflecting off tile. No, it wasn't. If it was my thermal shadow, it would have been multicolored. It would have shown body heat. This is showing no body heat. Looks like it's wearing overalls with almost a greenish light tint to its facial structure.
Yep. And the thing is, Tony, and you know this, there are people out there, they don't like to cross over, so to speak, when you're talking about cryptids or UFOs or paranormal related to spiritual nature. There's a lot of people, but I personally think that all of this can be connected.
Well, I would agree with that. And if you look at places that have constant effects of paranormal, places like Skinwalker Ranch, they also have a high abundance of UFO activity. In speaking to Andrea Perrin, and I didn't know this until maybe 5-6 years ago, but we were having a conversation, and she said not only was the Conjuring House affected by what they believed to be spirits, but also UFOs, as they were in the sky constantly. So could there be a crossover between what we consider to be paranormal when it could actually be some sort of extraterrestrial activity where they've got means and equipment that's far beyond what we're even aware of, where they can cloak themselves, make themselves disappear, bump into a wall and make noise? I'm sure that's a possibility.
I totally agree. Michael says it looks like an alien with a human body.
Correct. Right. But anybody who describes the different types of aliens, they are bipedal and they have 2 arms and 2 legs. So could this be? Yeah. I mean, I can't debunk it. I don't know what it is, but are those possibilities? Absolutely.
Now, pareidolia does have a role in this as far as the face, the head.
Correct.
But we cannot, there's no way to discount that that's bipedal. That is a humanoid figure. Period.
Correct.
Now, that house did have a history of a young child that lost their life.
That is correct.
The young boy, I believe it was.
It was. That is absolutely correct. Yeah, and originally that's who we thought maybe we were seeing. But like I said, from that visual, that you're showing right now. Now, granted, I don't know all the variables involved and how they project themselves, and so could that particular half a second image be displaying characteristics that aren't normal? Yeah, it could, because it's a snapshot. But in that particular photo, yeah, it almost does look alien.
Mike, it could be a shapeshifter. The thing is, anything is possible, really.
Right.
That's the whole point of the field, because
Correct.
You know that
the biggest capture is that shouldn't have been in there.
No.
We could all see with our own eyes there was nothing visually that we could perceive.
There was nothing. I was right there. There was nothing in there. That we were by ourselves.
Right. There was nothing in there, but yet that showed up.
See, I don't know if. Let's just say because we don't have absolute proof of what if it's extraterrestrial, whatever. Okay.
Right.
The source. Right. But maybe places, locations have a certain energy that they're attracted to.
Could be.
Maybe the equipment that you guys were using down there got them curious, if it was extraterrestrial in source. Because clearly on the video clip that I played, the first one, you can see you guys are doing your thing in the main area of the basement, and we all heard the noise from this room where the bathroom was. Right. It was almost like trying to get attention. Or
great point. That noise is what dragged us all in there. But you figure if we go back to, whether it's spirit or whether it's something extraterrestrial, can't answer that. Right. But let's just say, from a perspective that extraterrestrials have some equipment or ability to cloak themselves to us. Well, all they would have to do is make themselves not visible to visible light, because that is what the human eye can see.
Right.
Visible light is the only thing the eye can see.
Very small.
Now, maybe they weren't expecting us to have a flare, which is infrared, and maybe it disturbed their distortion, and that's how we picked them up. I don't know.
That's a great point, because I tell this to people all the time. You could be sitting or being anywhere you are. It doesn't mean that there's not something around you. It's just not visible to our eyesight. It's not in that range, because we do see a very small in the spectrum of light. So
correct. Very small.
It's there. But let's just say, I'm assuming now that that's the cause. They think, or it thinks, that it cannot be seen.
Right.
That they're just there watching us.
Right.
But because you have that flare, gotcha.
Because then we were watching it on the flare. It was standing still. It looks like it's looking right at us.
Yeah.
And then when we started talking about it and I started moving closer, it disappeared off the screen and never showed back up.
And like was mentioned in the video, when they talked about the lighting, could it be a shadow? That was disproven, because we went back to certain positions and there was no light coming from that direction that could have caused anything like on that screen. And we ruled all those things out. So this was something that was captured inside that bathroom.
Right.
Period.
Right. We were all there. We all saw it. We took photographs of the screen. Everyone knew that it showed up on the infrared, but was not visible to the human eye.
Exactly. So, moving on now. Staticom 3.0. Before we talk about 3.0, what were the earlier versions like? Like, you modified this. You've been working on this for quite some time.
Yes.
What is the difference between the new updated version than the priors?
Well, originally, our former partners, Ron and Lourdes, went back through the pioneers of ITC. And they did a really good job, because they did in-depth research to find out of all the perspective methods, which ones worked, which ones were debunked, which ones were skeptical. And they decided to go with direct radio voice, because it was realized by a gentleman named Friedrich Jurgensen that he could get voices on a radio that sat on a vacant station that didn't scan up and down like a spirit box does. Friedrich Jurgensen passed that information on to Konstantin Radava. Radava passed it on to a gentleman named Marcello Bacci, and Marcello Bacci had fantastic success with it. He used it for about 35, 40 years.
Wow.
He was tested by scientists in a lab, and the scientists could not debunk it. They could not understand how it was occurring. They pulled his vacuum tubes one by one. He was still able to receive voices. The only thing they could remove to make the voices stop were Marcello himself.
Wow.
When they took Marcello out of the room, the voices quit talking. So Ron and Lourdes did a great job. They learned how direct radio voice was functioning, what to do. They were coached by Dr. Annabelle Cardoso, who's one of the original ITC pioneers, and they got it to work. And on a 4-tour mansion we did out on the East Coast, we got to hear it run.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, wow, that's amazing, because my wife and I had been building spirit boxes for 12 years, trying to make them clearer, make them better, but most importantly, to get longer communication. And we couldn't get that. And the reason now we know why was because when using a radio, the original theory behind a spirit box was that spirits would manipulate the fragments of audio into their own sentences. Well, we know today that's not true. Why? Well, first of all, to rearrange fragments of audio, all fragments would need to be available at that split second that they're rearranging. Second of all, they would need to rearrange at the speed of light and then create new sentences from available fragments. Well, when we realized through some various tests, some that Ron and Lourdes did, some that we did, was that radio wasn't needed at all. In fact, the radio cut the communication. When a radio station played, the spirits no longer had white noise to communicate. And that's why communication was so limited. Now with DRV, it sat on a vacant station, so it was just white noise, and that worked. But we were looking for a variety of things. We were looking, obviously, to debunk the skepticism as far as using a radio, because people say, yeah, you're getting stray radio waves.
I was just going to say that. AM, FM, ham, whatever frequency that you guys could be tapping into is interfering with what you're trying to do.
Correct. You can't tell reception from deception. So it's really hard to claim with any certainty that you're getting spirit voices when you're using a radio that produces speech. So we decided, once we realized they didn't need the RF signal, to remove the radio. And we replaced it with a white noise generator, which cannot pick up any radio, satellite, walkie-talkie, baby monitor, nothing. It has no ability to take any wave floating in the atmosphere and converting it to speech. It can't be done. When we did that, we were able to still get communication. We could ask a question, get an answer, full sentence. Wow. So that went from direct radio voice to Staticom. Then we made improvements in the clarity of the speech with Staticom 2.0. And now with Staticom 3.0, we got perfect clarity on everything spoken. So we went from some clarity in DRV, which would fluctuate, 1 out of 10 times we'd get something really clear, to 2.0, where we'd get more clarity, but not constant, to now all the changes my wife and I made and upgrades we made to 3.0, where you can hear everything said, from something said loud and clear to something whispered.
Wow. So obviously this is something that is constantly evolving. You're always
Correct.
working to make it better.
Right.
But right now it seems to what you're describing, because like I said, I haven't seen any of these clips except for one. But the one that I did see, I was like, wow, it's clearly communicating back
Correct.
to you. So I'm going to play, I've just had them in order. I don't know what's on them. I'm just going to tell you the file. I'll play it a couple of times so people can see it twice and
Sure.
absorb it. But this one looks like it was in a house. Like I said, I haven't seen it yet. It's dated March 20th, I believe, of this year. Did you do anything recently? Have you been on an investigation recently?
Yeah, we were on one last Friday. I don't know if I sent you those clips, but the responses are incredible. What's the name on the file?
It just says 2025 320 0850.
Okay, yeah, that's the one from last Friday. So before you play that one,
Okay.
did I send you one called DRV Bocce?
Bachi. I do not see that.
Okay.
Why don't I
no
just
problem.
play? I'm going to pick the ones that were short clips. It looks like it was done
Okay.
from your home.
Okay.
One
Yeah,
is,
those are good ones to start with because those clips, I wasn't even done programming yet. And the voices just appeared.
So this is when you was first starting to really develop 3.0?
Correct. I was still coding and building it. And the
Wow.
voices just showed up.
Wow. Before I play these, are you able to actually communicate communicate back to their names and details of their lives? Does it get that detailed when
Yep.
you're communicating?
Yes, it does. And you'll see that in the clips you're about to play.
Wow. All right, so let's play Energy of Your Mind. Let's see if it rolls in the background. It should. And
How
here
do
we
you
go.
hear me speak? How do you hear me speak? How do you hear me speak?
So we call it death. Energy of your mind. That's the thing.
Yeah, so like when we ask questions, I don't broadcast my voice. There's no mic. I'm not turning my voice into some RF signal. I'm speaking in a normal tone without mics, as I would if I was speaking to my wife. What I wanted to know was if they're not in human body form anymore, because when I speak, I create vocal sound waves that travel the atmosphere up until a certain point where they dissipate. Any human standing within that range of 100 yards, 200 yards, they have follicles in their ear that vibrate. That vibration goes to a liquid center in the brain, which also then begins to vibrate, sends a message to the brain that says, hey, this is speech. If they don't have human ears, I want to know how they heard me, how they hear me speak. Well, what they're saying, their response was, we call it death, which is basically saying we're not human
Physical,
embodied
right.
anymore.
Biological,
we've passed
right.
over. Energy of your mind. That's the thing.
Consciousness.
Which what they're basically saying is we're not hearing your voice. We're getting the information from your consciousness, which makes perfect sense because we did years of EVP work. And at times, the answer to the question would show up on the recorder before I even finished asking the question. And that makes perfect sense. The other reason this answer is so interesting is because science is now looking at a theory called the survival theory of consciousness. And this supports that theory.
I mean, you're hearing a lot of things now about psionics, also telepathy. But
Correct.
People think it's new. I mean, we've been delving in this in top secret projects, remote viewing. I mean, this goes back decades. This is not something new.
Right.
You know,
No,
it may be
not
new.
at all.
They're
It's
rephrasing it.
It's the understanding of it that's new, is
Right.
trying to put the pieces together to paint the picture.
Right, right. And there's more people delving into the scientific aspect of it all.
Right.
So what I'm going to do is, so people could actually read what's on the screen, I'm going to take you and I off the screen, but we can still hear each other.
Sure. Sure.
Because I want them to see the dialogue that you put up when
Sounds good.
you're doing this, and then I can bring us up afterwards.
Of course.
Now you can still see the screen, correct?
Correct.
All right. There's another clip here, and it's called Chip. I can't pat him.
Pat him. Yep.
All right. Let's.
Now, what you just played was 2.0, and what you're
Really?
about to play was also 2.0. But this will give you a good indication when we get to 3.0 how the system has changed with the upgrades that we made.
All right. I'm going to run it twice. It's approximately 30 seconds long, so
Sounds
people
good.
can see and hear it. All right. Stand by.
Can you say Tony? Did you just say Rathman? Yep. So you know who I am. Can I know who you are? Yes, sir. Thank you. Who am I speaking to? How do you hear me speak?
All right, that's playing the other one now. Did you ever look into see who Chip Patton is? Like, did you do research?
We did. The problem is when dealing with audio only, I have to assume I spelled the names right. I have to assume
That's
I
true.
heard them correctly.
True.
We did not get an answer to when you were alive, who was president, so it makes it much more difficult. So we weren't able to verify that with any complete 100% verification, because could I have spelled the name wrong?
Right.
Could I have not been looking in the right time frame? Absolutely.
Another thing too is you can hear it's a little choppy.
Correct.
And this is
Correct.
the 2.0. That's what you were saying. It's been now modified where it's clearer when you hear it.
Yeah, it's not only clearer, but the biggest upgrade came in was that when we would get answers like that on 2.0, it would be one or two questions that we'd get responses, and then the responses would die off, become unclear, or not audible enough to recognize what was being said. 3.0 does not do that anymore. It'll stay running clear until you shut it off.
When did you finalize 3.0? How long ago?
About 70 some days ago.
Really? So this is like really recent,
This
the
is
last couple of months?
brand new. Yeah.
Wow. And how many investigations have you taken with you?
Just two so far, but we've got a lot. We've got another one coming up in April to the Bullion Plaza in Globe, Arizona. It has tons of activity there. Really looking forward to it. We've got a bunch of other ones scheduled after that, and we plan to take it back to the Philippines this year to find out what kind of multilingual, different language communication we can get with
That's a
it.
great test.
Yes.
That is an excellent
But
idea.
I mean, we get different languages even running it in the house. Cherie will get messages in her native language of Tagalog or Japanese, which she can speak both.
Wow.
And we've had lots of those come through.
Wow. Could it be? I mean, I'm speculating that it's family members or friends or people that
Yes.
know
Oh, yes. Very, very possible.
because of the
The
language.
other thing that we had to do as Staticom developed was we had to really take a look at what we believed reality to be, based off of what different religions say, based off of what science says. And we had to find a balance not only between theories such as scientific or religious, but also what evidence we were getting. And what we ended up with was called analytic idealism, which basically says in life there's one ontological primitive or one basic block. And that basic block is consciousness. You come from universal consciousness, you live your life, you learn, you grow, and then you return to universal consciousness. And that knowledge is shared amongst it's one mind, so it's a shared mind, which is also, we believe, how they answer our questions, how they communicate, and how they can answer things like if I say, what color's my shirt? If they don't have physical eyes, can they see? We believe they can, but are they more reading the information embedded into consciousness to get the answer? That we're not 100% sure of yet.
So that would be like establishing a direct connection to your consciousness to know that.
Absolutely, and that's the theory, and that's probably more practical and more to digest and understand, because if you look at psychic mediums, how they get their information, that's consciousness to consciousness. Staticom is consciousness to my consciousness, but then being projected through Staticom. But it's still the same path. So, yeah, being able, and people will say, hey, I had this idea, just came out of nowhere, and I tried it, it worked great. Is that the influence of universal consciousness on you saying, hey, try this. We don't know, but is that a possibility? Absolutely it is.
Tony, do you realize this could have another real big significant breakthrough? And I'm gonna try to explain it. When people report or claim that they've been possessed, okay, and or people say they're being drained by something, you might hear soul vampire or whatever reference they use. Maybe it's not so much in the physical sense, it's affecting them physically, but it's because something is taking over their consciousness.
Well, it's very possible, and that's a very good point and brings up some really great information. But I had said for years that us as humans were made up more than the physical body. If the physical body runs on food we eat and it gets its energy from there, if I'm tired, why can't I just eat a really big meal and be full of energy again? Mm-hmm. Like if my car's out of gas and won't run, I put gas in it, guess what? It runs just fine. But I have to sleep, which means there's got to be a second source that needs to be recharged, and I believe that to be the soul. Because otherwise, I could just eat a big meal. I should have 100% energy back.
Oh, yeah. Wow. I mean, I'm thinking about them like, whoa, consciousness. What if they have a way of manipulating your conscious?
Well, I think they definitely have a way. I don't know if manipulation
as far as like if it's an entity that is malevolent in nature and it becomes more classified as a possession case. That's what I'm...
Oh, in that case, yeah. And even if they can't control your consciousness, they can probably kick it out of your body or remove it from controlling your body to control your body themselves. Yeah,
exactly. So this has huge ramifications in many areas of research for paranormal activity.
Not just paranormal, scientific as
absolutely.
Well. I mean, they've been battling and they've been disagreeing on whether consciousness survives death. If consciousness does not survive death, I'm not using any type of radio wave, satellite, baby monitors, no communication device. Who's answering my questions?
Exactly. Who's responding?
Right.
Or what's responding?
Correct.
All right. So now we're going to play, those were 2.0 examples.
Yep.
So I'm going to save the one from last week for last.
Okay.
There's one here that says, I had cancer. Is that with the 3.0?
No, that's actually 2.0, but that's the first time, and I always used to tell Cherie, don't ask this because we know they're not dead or they wouldn't be able to answer. But I was running it, she came up behind me and she said, how did you die? And I was like, oh, don't ask that. But they answered. And you can hear the clarity in their voice. You can hear that they're not upset about it. They're calm. And they just said what they said.
Wow. All right, I'm going to take us off first so we can see the
sure.
text. Because I'm sure you inserted it.
Yep.
All right, let me take myself and you. And now we're going to run this clip. And by the way, the Genghis Khan says, awesome work, Tony and Cherie. And
Thank you, Genghis.
And Michael says, does it depend on bandwidth? It doesn't. You just made that. I think you referenced to that. It has really nothing to do with bandwidth because that's not part of this.
Correct. It uses, if you're talking bandwidth in terms of internet, it uses no internet. It uses no AI. It uses no word banks. Nothing but white noise. Now, broadband white noise is 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz. It's every single sound a normal human ear can hear.
Gotcha.
And we believe that when they speak, it uses a process called stochastic resonance, which takes whatever frequencies their voice is at, pushes it up above the white noise. The white noise is at a spectral frequency of 1, meaning all sounds are at the same level. Mm-hmm. Then we cut the white noise off, leaving nothing but the voice.
Michael brings up another great scientific application possibly moving forward in the future. It could also help with mental health issues with split personalities. Absolutely
it could. And, that's a great point because when anyone who suffered from what was called multi-personality disorder
yep.
and was actually able to have that rectified, they then realized that every personality was just them to begin with.
Yep.
When they had the disorder, they thought it was different people. When they were able to be rectified of it, they realized, oh my God, that was all me. Well, that's the same thing, sort of the difference between living in the returning to universal consciousness. We are all part of one mind of universal consciousness. So when we fight with each other, when we disrespect each other, that's insane because we're all the same. We're all from the same source.
All right, so let me play this clip. Let's see what the length is. It is 8 seconds. I'm going to let it go 3 times so people could see it and hear it over. So here we go.
Do you know how did you die? Do you know how did you die? Do you know how did you die?
Wow.
Yeah, so, when you pull that apart, there's more than just the answer of I had cancer. Cherie asked, did you know how you died? They now have perfect mental awareness that they're not human anymore. They've switched realms. They're somewhere else. They had recollection of how they passed over and what caused it. But there was no emotional grief behind it anymore. There was no pain associated with it. He clearly, or she, I'm not sure whether that was male or female, clearly stated, I had cancer.
Yeah. Ginga said he also heard it too. I heard cancer. But remember, this is the 2.0.
Correct.
This is the 3.0 segments are going to come now, and we're going to get right to it. So the next clip I see is Sinner. Is that 2.0 or 3.0?
That's 3.0. But look, if you have one, I don't know if I sent one titled Staticom 3.0 Initial.
Yes.
Or Staticom 3.0 Percodan.
I have that one too.
Okay, so play the initial first because I am literally sitting at my Staticom station coding when voices showed up.
Okay, let me take ourselves off screen. All the clips you sent do have text on the screen, right? So we can read.
Yes.
Okay, so let me take ourselves off here. And the initial is the one you want to play right now.
Correct.
Okay, here we go.
Speaker. Who are you trying to find? You're nervous. What?
Right there.
Yeah. Are you trying to send us a message?
Roger. Roger meaning yes or Roger meaning Roger?
Are you talking about Roger Martin?
Yes, Martin.
Tony, it's crazy because it's trying to establish a way to communicate.
Yeah. I mean, the establishment is there, and we knew the voices were there, but we didn't have it set up right, which is what 3.0 corrected. Now, this is the first time when I was building 3.0 that voices showed up. Speaker was the first word we've ever heard from 3.0. But my wife flips her camera on, or maybe there was a word before that because the camera was on during speaker. She grabs her cell phone, and then you can hear her communicate back and forth with them. And the funny part about Roger is one of our friends, Roger Martin, is he plays around with us with Staticom. He helps us do testing. They were asking for him, and when he said Roger, I'm thinking, okay, is that military Roger for
right.
Yes? Or are you talking? But the funniest part is that they said Martin, and that's how he pronounced. That's the true pronunciation. I said Martin, and it's Martin. So the spirits actually pronounced his name 100% correctly. And the other fascinating part is I was turning dials when you heard that entity say perfect right there. And of course, I pulled my hand away, and that communication just kept going.
Wow. So is that the sweet spot?
That was one of them, yeah.
So there's multiple. So you got to constantly try to adjust it when you're using it to get that so-called sweet spot.
Well, originally, yes. With 2.0, yes. 3.0, we've got probably 90% of them locked in. So I can flip it on and those voices are there with the clarity. There's a few pieces that do require minor adjustments based on where we're at. I don't know the factors that make it differ from place to place, but we know it does happen.
Wow. All right, let's see. You said the other clip. I'm going to go find it right now. And that's going to be Percodan?
Correct.
All right, let me take ourselves off the screen. And we're going to run this clip. And this clip is 38 seconds, so stand by, everybody. Here we go.
Spirit, Cherie isn't getting sick, is she? Is Cherie getting sick, Spirit? Yes. What should she take? Who created Staticon?
Oh my God. I want to play that again, Tony. I want to play that again.
Sure.
Spirit, Cherie isn't getting sick, is she? Is Cherie getting sick, Spirit? Yes. What should she take? Who created Staticon?
Wow. So it's not sure. Do you think it wasn't sure that it was actually communicating with you? It's like, is it broken? What do you think it meant by is it broken?
Well, they were asking, did you break it? You know, rather, because we were improving it. It had been down for a while because I was doing all the necessary changes. And, you know, it's so funny for them to say, is it broken? Like they were concerned because that's their method of communication. But the funniest part about that clip was that Cherie had told me prior that she didn't feel well. And she actually said, I'm in real pain. And I don't react when they said the word Percodan because I didn't know what it was. I had to look it up. Percodan is a prescription strength pain reliever. So what they answered based on what she said, I'm in pain. I don't know what's going on, but I'm in real pain. That's what Percodan is for. And I didn't even know the term until I looked it up.
Wow. It's almost like it's recommending maybe Percodan.
Absolutely it was.
So when you use this, are you using a voice that's the same for every clip? You know, it's not built to identify the voice person that's trying to speak. It's
no.
just
there is nothing pre-programmed,
right.
No AI, no voice, anything. It is white noise, the shush sound you hear between radio stations, filtered by frequency, noise reduction, timing, because we slow down white noise 50% in real time. So like when somebody does EVP work, they'll do what's called record and review. They'll ask their questions, then they'll take their recording home, they'll load it to the computer, they'll amplify it, they'll denoise it, they'll try to clean it up. Staticom does all of that in real time live.
wow.
So the voices that come through are their voice and how they're speaking.
That's
And we've
outrageous.
had people recognize voices of past loved ones.
Wow. Because so like if like me, a New Yorker, if they had a New Yorker accent like myself, it would come through.
Correct.
Wow, that's fascinating in itself.
It absolutely is. And that's why we were so focused when 15 years ago when we started with EVP. I don't care what other device I have, whether a light flashes, whether music plays, whether, you can't beat a vocal. I can tell whether it's male or female. I can tell if it's an adult or a child. I can tell what language they're speaking. I can tell their emotional state. Are they happy? Are they excited? Are they angry? Are they upset? And I can tell if they've got a territorial accent or dialogue, all before I even get to the response they gave. You can't beat that.
Wow. Have you ever had the need to use like a iPad or some kind of device as an interpreter in real time if it's coming in through another language?
The only time we've had to do it, we didn't use a device. We took the recording. They were speaking Turkish, and we asked them, I said, that doesn't sound like English. What language are you speaking? And they flat out answered Turkish. And we had listened to a couple of statements back and forth. We took it to somebody who speaks Turkish, and they wrote down exactly what they were talking about for us.
That's outrageous.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That is just simply amazing. And like you said, when you go to the Philippines and do it over there, that's going to be, oh my gosh, that's going to be incredible. That's going to be a great experience for all of you.
Yes, it will. And we're associated with an organization called Souls International, and they're all Korean, Thailand, Philippines, who am I forgetting? Korea, Thailand, Philippines. There's one out Singapore. It's an Asian paranormal group. When we go over there, we're going to hook up with them. They've got all sorts of things we're going to try.
I have a friend. He just messaged me this morning. His name is Klaus Donna. He's an archaeologist. He's been in the Philippines for almost a decade. He was only supposed to go there for a dig excavation for like a year. He's still there. They're looking for the lost treasures when Japan.
General Yamashita's lost treasure. Yep.
And he's still there, Tony. So, and he's under guard and protection with security. It's like it's unbelievable. He wasn't supposed to be there for that long, and he's still there. That's almost 10 years later. So there's a lot going on that a lot of
There's
the public.
a ton going on there. Last time we were there, we got to investigate the Diplomat Hotel, which just has a crazy history. It was monks and nun retreat house way up in the mountains. When General Yamashita came into the Philippines, he beheaded all the monks and nuns that were using, and he turned it into his general headquarters. When we got written permission from the governor to go spend the night there, one of the first things the security guard, when he let us through the gate, said took about 6 steps. The Diplomat Hotel was at least 300 yards away yet. He goes, that's as far as I go. And when we were coming out the next morning, he said to us, he goes, they actually found gold pieces in here that Yamashita left.
Wow. Genghis in chat, he says, right on, Tony, I've got relatives in Singapore, very superstitious culture.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
A lot of ancient folk tales.
Lots of them. And, there's always some truth to them. No matter how far stretched they got over the years, they still hold some sense of truth to them.
It's just like a sci-fi movie. There's still a little hint of truth in there.
Correct.
All right, let's move on. We have a few more clips.
Sure.
And we have Staticom responses.
Okay, that's a good one.
Yeah?
So this is when we got it, knew it was working, and I literally came home from work, flipped it on, and I just started asking questions. Nothing scientific yet, nothing research-based, just general questions to see if they would answer, and that's this clip.
All right, let's take us off screen. And let's run this clip.
Yes. What did you want to say to Roger? It's Tony. Spirits, can you hear me? Yes, okay. That was a loud voice that just answered. What's your name? That's a strange name. How many spirits are here with us right now? A lot? A lot, yeah, that's what I thought you said. Because there's so many of you, is that why all the background chatter? They're talking? Do you have any messages for us? Rathman, I heard that.
Tony, I'm not so crazy about that Rathman one. That was a very dominant Rathman.
It was. It definitely was.
Oh my gosh.
But you can clearly see how from 2.0 to 3.0, I mean, I can just keep the conversation going now.
They were excited. And I think when they said echo is because they can hear themselves through the device and it's echoing.
Correct. They were thankful that a communication such as this, where they could speak clearly, we can hear them, understand them. You can hear the excitement. And then you can even hear, and the name Roxy's been coming up like crazy for me. Even on the investigation we did Friday, that name came up again. Don't know who it is, don't know what the significance is. But one spirit said, Roxy, he's talking to us. Like,
yeah,
you know, the amazement that I'm speaking to them and they know it.
And they're thankful.
Right.
Now, before we move forward, is it possible now you're going to have more activity, say, in your home because they know it's an opening of communication with you and Cherie there? Because it looks like the word is spreading kind of, you know.
Right.
There's a lot there now. That, you know, it seems like, oh my gosh, we've got a way to communicate with them now.
That's a very good question. And in fact, when we were doing a podcast with some PhD scientists, one of the questions they ask is, when you get done doing a session, is there any residual energy that you can detect in your house? Well, we believe that because spirits aren't bound to time and space, because those are man-made constructs, they don't apply to spirits. It also means that they don't have to physically be at the location to communicate through Staticom. They can do it from anywhere, which is why if we go to a haunted location and get voices, that's not a predictor that the location is haunted. It just means that we can get responses. Right. They don't have to be in that location to respond, which means then, is it possible that we could get more activity in the house? Yes. But does it mean it's going to? No. Because if they don't have to be here, if I go over to the neighbor, sit down for an hour and have a cup of coffee, you'll be able to detect my body heat on the chair I was sitting in. But if we were to do internet connection, both enjoying a cup of coffee, there are no residual effects at their place, nor mine from them.
Did you ever think about asking, where did you live or reside when you were alive?
We did. We did that a lot with 2.0. Like I said, 3.0 is so new that we haven't made it there yet because we're still, the first thing we did was we wanted to make it as compact as possible and portable so that we could travel around with it anywhere we wanted to. Wow. The next thing was obviously finalizing the clarity, making sure the speech stayed, making sure we could turn it on and it would run as was expected. Which we're there now the research portions. Where are you at? When were you alive? Who was president? What is the last life memory you have? What was the most important thing about life?
Exactly.
Those are the questions we will get into now.
You know, you brought up a great point just a few minutes ago. If you brought this device, say, to a hall, a conference, or somewhere where it's not a personal place for any person that happens to be there. So, for example, if I was there in Las Vegas with you doing this, and I'm asking, is there anyone, like if you ask the question, is anyone here that wants to speak to Bill?
Yep.
Obviously, they're probably not from Vegas.
No, probably not. But again, they don't need to be. Like I said, time is a complete man-made construct. It doesn't, we believe, exist for them.
Exactly.
You know, and it's so funny because people say, well, have them tell you where they're at. You know, and we'll say that, and they'll be like, you won't understand. Right. And then people are like, what do you mean I wouldn't understand? I'm intelligent. I'll understand. Okay, well, let me ask you a simple question. Do you like ice cream? Yeah, I do. Without using time, tell me when you had your last bowl of ice cream. You can't do it. You can't say yesterday. You can't say last week. You can't say 16 hours ago. You can't say last month. Those are all human constructs of time.
I totally agree. It's a different set of properties.
Correct.
I mean, we probably, like they said, we don't understand it yet.
Correct.
This is Tony. This is fascinating.
Thank you.
You better get over here with Cherie out east and do another investigation so I can tag him.
We'll be out there eventually, no doubt about it.
Please let me know because I want to go.
You know I will, Bill. You know I will.
All right, so there's more.
Yep.
Let's see. So we still have the 4th round of testing.
Yep.
We also have...
That's a good one to play next.
Okay, let's do that. So I'm going to take us off the screen. Tony, this is amazing.
Thank you.
All right, stand by. We're going to play that clip now.
Time what? Well, I can hear you when you whisper, you know that, right? Spirits, if you're not familiar with this device is called Staticom. If you heard me say Staticom. That's better.
Now, can you say Staticom for me, please?
Alright, Spirits, if you don't want to say Staticom, let's play another game. What am I holding in my hand? Glasses, thank you. Thank you very much. How about pineapple? Can you say pineapple? Oh, perfect, thank you. How come you can't say Staticom like that?
It's one word.
It's one word, Staticom. Have you not been able to talk to humans before? If you can hear me, spirits, say elephant.
Do you know Tony?
Oh my gosh.
If we use this device to help cold cases, will you answer the questions? Yeah, sure. You bet. Thank you.
That will help.
That'll help a lot.
Tony, oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's, you know, we've been involved in spirit communication for 15 years, but even we still today just go, oh my gosh, how this is mind blowing.
It's him. It's Rathman. They
Yeah, they recognize when I turn it on. They know who they're speaking to. There were so many things in that clip
yes.
that point to so many other things. Like when I asked him, "Are you not used to communicating with humans?" And they said, like Becky. I mean, I don't know who's familiar with Don Phillips.
Yes.
But he was on Unsolved Mystery. He's a really good friend of mine. But he has the ability to get information through a spirit named Becky. And for them, which I believe is who they were referring to when they said that, it's just incredible.
Repeating phrases, words.
Right.
Identifying what you were holding, glasses.
Correct. And I wish Cherie had turned the camera when I said what I'm holding, but it was the glasses right off the top of my head.
Oh my gosh. This, and you could hear it, the excitement.
Right.
Being able to communicate.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it did sound like an English, it sounded like an English woman in the background.
It could have been, but if you also listen to it, you can tell that it's multiple voices.
Yes, it is. There's multiple.
There is 5 or 6 of them, maybe more, responding to the different questions that I ask.
Oh my gosh, Tony. I'm getting like the chills. I mean, I can't imagine the archives that you have. This is just a few
huge terabyte of stuff.
And on any given investigation, is this thing constantly running when you're there and you're picking up all kinds of activity? Do you go room to room? Like, how does that work when you're doing it at a location?
Well, if we're investigating at a location, we'll still do the traditional stuff.
Right.
We'll do baseline readings with EMF. We'll try EVP. We'll use different cameras, full spectrum, infrared. We'll use the typical equipment investigators use. Once we determine that voices are being picked up via EVP, as long as we set it up anywhere in the building, we'll still get voices from outside. But we'll know when we took it and ran it it was 2.0, but when we took it down to Tombstone, Arizona, they were responding about the bird cage, the great gambling, the fantastic liquor that they had, the prostitution that was available there. So you get responses based on location when you're interacting with spirits that might be either from that time and being able to communicate about specific locations.
Incredible. All right, we're going to go to the next clip. And we still have Sinner, and then we have the one from last Friday.
All right, so play Sinner first. We were just running a test. This was probably 2 or 3 weeks ago. I finished up the last of the upgrades, and we were with our friend Roger and Karen, and they always ask great questions. So it was just a question and answer again, but you'll hear the responses.
Before I play it, there's a comment that came in from a lunatic. Wants to know, and I know people right away want to go this way. Will it be available one day as an app?
It'll never be available as an app because apps on phones have limited processing power, and any app usually runs off of AI, word banks, or some sort of pre-programmed responses. This does not. The technology far exceeds what an app can do, and so it may be available to public down the line, yes, but will it ever be an app? No.
Do you have this only on one specific device, or are you planning to put this on multiple devices? Could this be put?
I have it right now on 3.
Wow.
Always just for a backup in case something happens. The newest one is the tiny little portable one, which we plan to take anywhere and everywhere we're invited to show, talk about, and let it run live so people can ask their own questions. It's kind of like doing a seance, except you're not getting the responses from a third-party person. You're getting it directly, hearing it directly, as is everyone else in the room.
And I'm pretty sure he can record it, but I'll ask him anyway. Can you record the voices in the box?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, that's really vital to the whole thing, is to actually have the
It
recording.
is, because you can go back and things you missed in the live, you can catch in the recorded version. You're like, oh my God, how did I miss that?
How do you find the time between work and doing this? I mean, you must be constantly grinding. And Cherie,
Constantly.
now-
In fact, Sheree and I had a conversation about that just the other night. And I said, look, our 11th anniversary is coming up April 14th. And I said, look, let's go do something for our anniversary. Let's let this sit for a little bit. But between people wanting podcasts, and we love to talk about it, so we will never say no. We love to explain how we believe it's working. But yeah, time, I will be thrilled on the day I can retire, don't have to go to work, and can focus on this full time.
what is the immediate family's response to this?
Well, my dad, being a physics scientist from the physical materialistic side, when I first started this 15 years ago, he's like, what are you doing? But over the years, as he's heard it develop, as he's heard better responses, he'll now come to me and go, okay, tell me how this is working. And when I start talking about things like stochastic resonance, and he's like, oh my God, you did listen in my physics classes. I said, of course I did. I said, I've learned a lot, not only from you, but from doing this as well. But he's come around and he's like, oh, okay, explain to me how this is occurring. Explain to me where are these voices coming from? How do they speak without vocal cords? Well, no, simple. Does your radio have vocal cords? No. But what are you hearing? Speech. How is that happening? Energy, frequency, and vibration. That's all you need to create speech.
Another great question here, and I'm fascinated by it too. Any plans to do live streams, maybe possibly during an investigation with this?
We probably have a request for probably 25 live streams to run this live. The problem is that A, it's a completely separate computer system. 2, it uses multiple inputs of audio, including the white noise. When you do a live, you have one mic input. So the audio either has to be combined in over your mic or with your mic, which is extremely annoying to answer questions or have a conversation.
Yep.
Or 2, it has to play on an outside speaker, which doesn't allow me to interact with the host or the questions being asked, because this thing's blaring in my ear and the microphone itself. So we have been working the last couple of weeks to try to find an answer. We don't have it yet, but we'll eventually get there.
I think I have a possible solution. When you do this, you need to set up a YouTube, if you haven't already, for Staticom.
We do.
You know what I mean? So that you can get this out to the public and make this aware of this technology and the
Right.
capability of what it's doing. You got to get the message out there. I mean, this is incredible. So just to put
Thank
this.
you. Yeah, we're super pleased and somewhat dumbfounded as well. When we were looking back at 2.0, I was explaining to Sheree, I see some problems. And I guess it was a little bit of luck, but my problems that I thought were correct. And when I made the changes, when we looked at how things were being processed, we made a complete overhaul. And boom, like I said, we played that clip when the voices first showed up. The clarity is there, the timing and relevance to the answers to the question asked. And I'm like, oh my God, it works.
So before we move on to the last 2 clips, and I don't want to be premature by asking this now, what is your YouTube channel? Where can people find more samples of the work that you're doing?
Absolutely. If you go to YouTube, just type in Staticom. It'll come up. Look for you'll probably run across clip after clip on the Staticom page, but look for the circular page itself. Says Staticom. Click on that. There's, I don't know how many samples of responses. You can go to Tony Rathman Facebook. I'm always posting what we capture. I'm posting where we're going to be speaking, where we're doing live demonstrations. You can go to entityvoices.com. There is a whole Staticom section, which includes clips, podcasts we've done, information, Staticom write-ups, explanations, where we're heading with progress. So yeah, another great area.
Is that it right there?
That is it.
Okay, so
That's YouTube.
yes, the YouTube. So it's at Staticom. It's simple.
Correct.
/ at Staticom. That's where you can find this. It's actually very simple to find, and actually you're going to see it in real time because I need to keep track of what the heck is going on here. I mean, now I'm definitely going to be digging into this because
Very cool.
And Lunatic just subbed too, so people are subbing as we're doing this.
That's awesome.
All right, so let's get back. And yes, your Facebook is Tony Rathman. Simply?
Tony Rathman, right.
Okay. So now we're going to play, I believe it was Sinner.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to take us off. And let's run this clip.
How many of you talking right now, or how many spirits talking right now?
Do any of you have a message for us?
Spirits, if you can hear us and understand us, say Rathman.
Tony Rathman.
Can we get your name?
Jeremy.
Hi, Jeremy.
Jeremy, did you have a family?
Yeah.
Were you married? What was your wife's name?
Catherine.
Is Catherine with you?
Yes.
Are you happy?
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Do you guys know that you're dead, or do you know you're dead?
No. What did you do here when you were here, where we are? What did you do? What was your job?
Gosh, it's like they have an absolute intelligent existence, like what we would do here. They're having it on the other side. Don't answer that.
Exactly.
It's incredible.
People always ask about, religious connotations. It's so funny that Karen asked, what did you do while you were here? What was your job? What did you do? And for them to answer sinner, it really makes you think, okay, there's probably a lot more truth. A lot of people dismiss religion, but I mean, come on. He said, what did he do when he was here? Sinner. That makes you think.
Oh my gosh. I mean, and so like the responses, it's quick.
It's quick.
It's incredible.
It's real two-way communication.
Are you ever concerned about getting too personal? Like if you were to delve in onto your own personal, on an intimate level for you, Cherie, does that not concern you? Maybe this could get a little too personal? I mean...
Well, no, I totally understand what you're saying, and those concerns are always there. We don't know the limitations of Staticom yet, and we probably won't for a long time. But what we do know is that they have no problem giving us information from what has already occurred, but they will not give us information about the future. And one of the reasons we know this is we've asked for the winning Powerball numbers 100 times. We don't get them. I can ask a simple question like, if I have a decision to make, I can make this decision or I can make this decision next week. Which one should I do? No answer. And we believe that, and we use this term as universal law, but we don't believe that they can affect the life that we were sent here to learn, to grow, and to evolve and they can't change or alter that. So therefore, future questions, they don't answer. But past stuff, they will answer that like crazy, which is why Cherie and I want to get into helping with cold cases.
I mean, there's so many questions. I could talk to you for like 3 hours, dude. There's
It's
so
a
many.
huge subject matter. I agree.
And I'm a philosophical
Right?
level. I mean, it's like I'm gonna make a joke, but it's not really. I'm making a joke out of this, but it's like you guys are big time status folks on the other side, with those trying to communicate to this side. They know you, the Rathmans. Do you know what I mean? It's like you've got their attention.
I know exactly what you mean. And even when we hear other people running different devices like a spirit box, and the funniest one was on a television show. I don't want to say which one because it doesn't matter. But they were running their spirit box, and we recorded it and put it into DaVinci Resolve to look at it closer, amplify it. They had said Rathman twice.
Wow. So they're searching for you.
Well, they're realizing that
Referencing
communication has now been opened.
Exactly.
And they're looking to use any method now because, we know it can be done.
And clear, and they know it's working. They reference that it's working.
Right.
They know they can establish sentences, just
Correct.
not single words. They can phrase out what they want to. This is a whole other step forward.
It is, and the paranormal needed
Potentially.
it. It had been stagnant for the last 50 plus years, and hopefully this helps not only the paranormal to evolve, but maybe even science as well. So
And
we'll see.
criminal.
Right,
Cold
exactly.
cases, like you mentioned, cold cases.
Correct.
I mean, again,
It's
the science involved.
right. I mean, it's hard enough for somebody grieving the loss of a loved one, but imagine that grief on top of not even knowing what happened. Staticom might be able to help.
Forensic details.
Correct.
This is incredible, Tony. All right, so we have one final clip.
Okay, let me just say something before you play this one.
Okay.
This was an investigation that we took it to per request of the owner, but their house was an old 1898 train depot, and they had it moved it to their land and turned it into a house. They asked us to come and run Staticom 3.0. That's what you're about to hear.
Okay. Oh, I can't wait to see what this is. This is an actual.
And just by the way, when we showed up, she let us know that they had just gotten a cat. The cat was found in a garbage can. It was probably born there, and the cat's name is Trash. So that's important when you watch this.
Okay, let's check it out. I'm gonna take us off the screen.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Spirits, can you hear me? Yes. How many spirits are here right now?
10.
10. Can you repeat that? How many? Spirits, what's the cat's name? Loud and clear. Trash. Spirits, was this a funeral home or a train station?
Who was the spirit that was riding the horse in the arena? Can you bring Eli forward? Eli, were you a minor?
No, he was over 18.
Did you work on the railroad?
C?
Last time we heard Spanish.
I heard C, like yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Spirits, did you said yes in Spanish, right? Spirit.
Hey Spirits, I drew a little picture on this paper. Can you tell me what I drew a picture of?
Yes, ma'am.
What did I draw a picture of?
Loud and clear, Spirits. One more time. What did she draw? Right there. You said it. Yeah, I heard it. Thank you.
How many different dimensions are there, or are there more than one dimension?
Eight.
Did the cameras keep catching people or something else? Someone else? What spirit takes care of the animals outside?
Energy. Where are you hiding right now?
Kitchen.
Kitchen?
You're in the kitchen?
Yeah. Do you like tacos?
You have questions you want to ask? Go right ahead.
Who hit my back when I was trying to sleep?
Hit her. Something. They hit her.
They said just my energy.
Just my energy is what I heard. And that they hit her.
He said, oh, you're smart. Is everyone here good to Tiffany, Steve, and Zachary? Do you protect them?
There is a lot to digest in that clip.
There is a ton. In fact, that was probably about the first 20 minutes of the investigation when we started Staticom. I still have like an hour and 15 minutes to go through yet.
Is that Martin that they referenced?
Yes, that's Roger Martin. And you heard him say his name again when we first started it. They're like, Martin.
They also said there was 10, and it sounded like there was a lot of things going on in the background as they're all trying to
speak over each other, right?
Yeah, but when she was speaking, it identified she's speaking. Then they found that it's the Rathmans that you're
Yeah,
there.
our name was mentioned again.
You know, it's like,
happens.
and then when the 8th dimensions, it's like they can only speak. It's like, again, getting back to that, their understanding of our existence in this plane.
Or you heard right after they said 8, and they said it like twice. I heard it, but I asked again just to confirm, and they're like 8. And then the other voice came in and said, "Shush,
yes,
like you can't tell them that."
Right, right. It's this, Tony. I'm floored.
Thank you. It's incredible stuff.
This is like, I've been with you and the team. I've been with Ken DaCosta and his team, and I've seen what Cody and Satori can do in person, which is incredible. I'm telling you, Tony, it's incredible. You got to experience that one day.
Yeah, I that was on my list for a while now. I know that, some people give their negative opinions, but you know what? And I heard you say this yourself, unless you're there and have experienced for yourself, that's the given to be able to determine effectively. And I'm sure what they do is legit.
But this is incredible on its own standing of what you've done here.
Thank you.
Because
Thank you.
that's one thing, and I've seen it, and I'm telling you, I 100% seen it, believe it. But this is incredible for the scientific aspect of it all.
Yeah, and just the humanity aspect to
For sure.
be able
Impacts.
to show, you know what, after your 70, 80, 90 years is up, you're not done.
Yeah.
You go on.
Yeah. And it sounds like they're happy in their little peaceful land, wherever that is.
Correct.
And they
But
have.
that's the questioning that's next. Can you explain where you're at? What is life like? Do you have jobs? Do you have to do errands? How does the learning continue? What do you do? What's your day like? Those are the questions we can't wait to get into.
But if they said 8 dimensions, that means they obviously are aware and possibly can access those dimensions.
Absolutely correct.
So by going shh, and the other one and the other clip, don't even go there. Don't even tell them where we're at. It's
Right.
almost like they have full knowledge
Yep.
of how this is working, but they could for them. It's also establishing that communication.
Yep.
You have somehow managed to do this, and now they see this opening like a rift where finally we can communicate with them on that side.
Right. Well, in communication's not anything new. I mean,
I understand that.
Single wire recorders, EVP, were around. Then you got into direct radio voice, and then there's other methods that were, proposed that spirit communication was happening. But people for hundreds of years, probably even longer, have sought after explanations whether this can be done or not. And this is a leap forward in that direction, saying, you know what? Absolutely it can.
Yeah, totally agree. Well, you definitely. Kudos to what you're doing, Cherie.
Thank you.
Blessings, of course, to you and the family. Really looking forward to see what you both do moving forward on these trips that you're planning, investigations. Please keep me in the loop. Keep me posted.
You know we will, Bill. Absolutely.
Oh
Absolutely.
my, this is, and definitely folks, search for Staticom on YouTube. Yeah, I found it very easily. You can subscribe, keep following, because like he just mentioned, he still has probably hours worth of material he still has to go through and put it up there. It takes time. This does take a lot of time.
It does, but it's so worth it. I mean, to hear responses like that, like I said, even after 15 years, you're just like, did they really just say that? And yeah, they did.
So what's next? What's upcoming soon for you and Cherie?
Soon is Globe investigation at Bullion Plaza. We will be giving a speech. We will be explaining Staticom, probably running it live, letting people ask their own questions. That's the next big event, but who knows what'll show up in between. We get calls and requests quite frequently, so who knows what'll show up between now and April 12th. But and then there's a whole bunch of stuff after that being
Are you
together.
guys doing conferences, events like that, or?
Yep, like I said, we're doing the Halifax Symposium in Canada. We're doing Phenomenon, which is right in the Skinwalker Ranch, Blind Frog Ranch area, which is going to be awesome. All the cast and everything is there as well. But yeah, we're giving a 90-minute presentation and live performance of Staticom.
I may have to talk to the Pine Bush Paranormal and UFO Museum because they may want you there.
Very cool.
And if that's
Very
the case,
cool.
if that's the case, you could get accommodations. We can go into this privately, but you could always stay here at the house.
That's awesome, Bill. We would love to talk about this and show it anywhere and everywhere we can to make people aware that this is possible.
One final comment coming in from, well, actually, there's two. A lunatic says it's almost interstellar, but you mentioned that universal aspect earlier.
Right.
Michael said this is definitely a step forward in hearing the spirits.
Thank you. Yes, we agree with that.
So again, folks, check out the YouTube. Just search Staticom. You'll find it. It says Tony and Cherie Rathman. It's clearly visible. They've got a lot of stuff there, and there's going to be a lot of stuff probably added in the near-term future.
A lot.
Yeah, I can only imagine. Send my love, of course, to everyone.
You bet.
And thank you for coming on a Saturday evening.
Anytime.
And-
Anytime, Bill. This was an absolute pleasure. I love discussing Staticom. So this was my pleasure. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, Tony, this is incredible. I can't. One thing about me, when I get very, you know how, because you met me, I get very passionate and hyper. Like when stuff like this, I get excited. This is something like really, really is incredibly exciting to me.
It absolutely is, because there's so many questions, and for every answer we get, there's 100 more questions behind it, and it just keeps us pushing to see how much we can learn, see how much we can find out, and what we can learn about the other side and life as a whole, and the questions, and people always ask, you know, there's probably millions of questions alone. How were the pyramids built? Did Atlantis exist? All of those are askable questions. Have I had time to do all that? Well, no, because I could spend the next 20 years just asking questions to see what response I get. But it's all at my fingertips, and that's absolutely mind-blowing.
One final question: do you create a bullet point, like a questionnaire? Do you have that prepped? Is that something?
We have research material put together, what questions we want to ask. If we get an answer, what direction the question is asked next. Yes, we have that prepped. Waiting to do research questions on 3.0.
Okay. Well, again, keep us posted. Stay in touch. Continued success, and I'm sure this will not be the last version moving forward. I'm expecting, even though this is awesome 3.0, I can't imagine what you're up to next.
Yeah, you know, it's something I will never put down. Cherie got me into this 15 years ago, and I always say to her, hey, you started this. I didn't believe any of this. But I guarantee you, I will spend the rest of my life working on advancements, no doubt about it.
Well, meeting you both in person, I know she's just as passionate, if not more, than you are.
She is. I couldn't do it without her. I am thankful for her every day, for the support, the help, the thought processing, bouncing questions off each other. So yeah, I couldn't do it without her.
Well, continued success. Thank you for coming on, and we'll be in touch. So thank you, Tony, for coming on and spending some time with us.
You bet, Bill. Thank you for having me.
All right. You have a great night.
You do the same.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
That was awesome. And like I said, and I've mentioned this before, I went on an investigation with them when he was part of Entity Voices, the team. I seen what they do in person, and I've mentioned this, as he brought it up, that I mentioned it. You have to be there to truly understand and experience what's going on. It's almost like people have to see it for themselves. That's literal. You have to experience it for yourself, and no one can take that away. It's your personal experience, and there's a lot of people out there that experience stuff. Some, if not half, probably don't want to talk about it to be ridiculed. People might make fun of them. But I guarantee you there's a lot of people out there that have had a lot of different types of experiences where it's paranormal related, spiritual in nature, UAP, UFO, whatever it is. And yes, the vast majority can be explained away. But there's still that sliver that cannot. So I don't discount anyone or anything, but I definitely like to experience it for myself and reach my own conclusion. Just like anything you've seen or heard, you reach your own conclusion. But I'm very impressed. Very impressed. I mean, Michael just said that was amazing. It was amazing. My gosh, right, Genghis? I mean, and believe me, they're busy. I'm going to try to get him to come to Pine Bush, because it's not just the UFO thing. He has standalone events, paranormal in nature. And, they're busy. They're traveling. You heard them. They're going to be going to the Philippines at some point. They're doing a lot of already events. But I definitely have to have a conversation with Lance and get them over here. Lourdes and Ron has done presentations there. Another person, I don't know if he's done one, but they do a lot of paranormal related events there, standalones, like a gallery event. So I'm gonna see what I can do for them for that. Now they don't have to stay here, but it would be awesome because, it's private. It's just them, myself, my mom, just us, or whoever else is part of their entourage to come. And they don't know what Bill's cooking is like yet. Oh boy. So that would be, I take a lot of pride in that. When my company's here, I go off on cooking. And trust me, I have yet to see anyone be disappointed when they come here. And another thing too is, on a serious note, I would like to do a private, personal Statacom thing for myself and mom. This house is crazy active. But remember what he said, it doesn't have to necessarily mean about the location. And that's true. Because why I brought up Las Vegas, what if he asks for a volunteer to come up in Vegas? Do you think that whatever they're communicating with on a personal level with that person lived in Vegas? No, they may have come from the other side of the world, the globe. And that's what he was talking about. It doesn't matter necessarily about the location. It could be coming sourced from anywhere. We're talking about a different time of existence, not in the physical, biological sense, in a consciousness state. So think about that. I mean, it's fascinating. This is so fascinating. I could have, the poor guy, I only was going to have him on for like a half hour. It ended up being close to an hour and a half. But he's such a great guy. They're both lovely people. But I mean, I could have asked questions, and I'm sure you guys in chat, for hours. Because everything opens up so many more questions. Imagine having him at the UFO park. But you see, this, I mean, I was kind of thinking something on a level when it said about the dimensions. Because a lot of the talk today, when you talk about ufology, UAPs, a lot of people are saying they may not be coming from another planetary system within the Milky Way, forget about our solar system, but somewhere distant from another light years away. They could be traveling through dimensions. And people might say, well, what are you talking about? What do you mean about dimensions? Well, it's clear that we don't have a true understanding because the other side is telling us, don't say anything. But what if we're dealing with something that's using dimensions to communicate, and they can tap into us, they can see us, they can hear us? Do you know what I mean? This opens up so many questions. And boy, oh boy, if I lived next door to Tony, he would want to move. Because I'd be there every day. Tony, can I play with the device? Show me how to use it. I'd be going nuts. I would be on that. I'm sure he does, and Sharif does too. That's why they got to make time away from all that. Because I'm sure it can become obsessive because it's so fascinating. I know I would. I am intrigued big time. And you guys know when I get involved in something, I go all out. Havoc says, very interesting and informative. Imagine taking 3.0 to Mars and just asking. All right, let's just take that out of the equation. What about just taking it off world, period? Period. Like it's not grounded on Earth. Anywhere out there, what would happen then? That's a great question, actually. Like, say they decided to use it on the ISS. Or what if they're doing Artemis 2 and they're orbiting the moon, and they decide to try to use this thing. Could you imagine? Oh, that is a great question, Havoc, actually. And like you said, what happened if there was intelligent life on Mars? Could they explain what happened? But like he mentioned, imagine opening a Pandora's box and asking about ancient history about events that happened here. I mean, wow. And Genghis says a lot of aspects to their field of study could be spirits, time traveling signals, aliens. Exactly. We don't necessarily know where the sources are coming from. It could be multiple sources. Now, because it has the language use, it's giving it more of that human effect. But maybe they have an understanding of how to use language to communicate. Like I said, I'm speculating. There's so many questions. And hopefully, Tony's definitely taking this, and Cherie, in the right direction, for sure. And another thing, too, is the rest of the team. They do great work. I know them. Ron, Iacovetti, Lourdes. All of them are well-equipped and knowledgeable and intelligent individuals that they know to what they're doing in their field, what they're working on now. So this is what Tony and Cherie are doing right now. But I'm sure they're working on stuff too, individually. But that's great. The more, the better. In my opinion, we need that. But I always emphasize the science, the data, the analysis is so important. Because that's what we need. Science-based, factual evidence. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of questions about this. And, you explain this. You tell me how this is happening. You give me because you know that always out there you're going to have, of course, and it comes with the territory, skeptics, debunkers, who love to debunk. There are people out there that personally like to discredit people. But despite all that, this is a very positive step forward to me in research. That's just my opinion. And I didn't see these clips. I saw one because I wanted to keep it spontaneous. I wanted to see it and hear it with everyone else that may be watching right now. I was super impressed. That's why if they come, if I meet them, and let's just say I can get them at Pine Bush, which I'm definitely calling Lance tomorrow. This is amazing. People, and the interaction. And anyone can ask it a question. Tony had the people there. That interaction, and people will be flawed. They don't know prior information about anything you're going to ask. It's not like it's a setup, but there are people that would think it was staged. You know that. There's always going to be that. People are going to think it's staged. This was arranged. But only, like I said, the person that experiences it, they know the real answer. And that's all that matters. Yes, the Egypt thing. But see, that's why Michael says, what if they had it on a sub going down to the Titanic? Oh my gosh. But remember, it doesn't have to necessarily be at the location. So it's not like they have to go submerged with the device and be at the wreck, necessarily. You know what I mean? Oh my gosh, yes. What about all the ancient civilizations and lost cities that they're discovering almost on a daily basis in South America or anywhere else? And I'm sure as the word gets out about this, there's going to be a lot more attention, and there should be, on this. Statacom 3.0, in my opinion. I wouldn't be surprised if agencies get curious about this device. You know what I'm saying? Could you imagine the military implications? I know Tony and Cherie would never want this to be used in a negative way, ever. Because that's not the kind of people they are. But I'm sure it would get attention. They'd be curious to know how this thing works and try to take it upon themselves to take it further. Or maybe even say, Mr. Rathman and Mrs. Rathman, we'd like you to come with us. And we're going to set up shop here for you to work on this along with our scientists. Could you imagine? This isn't like science. It is, I'm totally speculating, hypothesizing. You never know. Just never know. So, again, that was really cool. I'm going to end this stream because I want this to be a standalone. So if anybody comes and sees this. By the way, there is developments. Look it up in Egypt with the pyramids underneath. If you haven't seen it, supposedly there's cylindrical objects they detected. And they say it looks mechanical in nature. Again, this is allegedly. I have not seen no evidence of it. But there's a lot of word going on about this in the last week or so. You might want to look that up because Havoc brought it up. You might want to look into that a little bit. So I'm going to be back. I'm going to take a little break. And then I'm going to hang out. But I'm going to end this stream. And thank again all of you that were here to watch this and participate and chat. And also I want to thank especially Tony and Cherie Rathman because she's just as an integral part of this as he is. And trust me, behind the scenes, she's awesome. I actually love them to death. And I've only met them once, but first impressions are lasting impressions. Genghis, yes, Genghis. So I'll be back. I'm going to end the stream, go get something to eat quickly, and I'll be back. So I'll see everybody on the flip side.